something in this trailer feels different. Not just the chaos, not just the violence, but the sense that this time, someone important is not walking away. Because if you pay close attention, every single frame is building towards one thing, a moment where the balance of power finally breaks. And when that happens in The Boys, it never ends clean. The trailer wastes no time throwing us straight into the darkness, both literally and narratively. We open with quick, intense shots of Butcher and the team moving under the cover of night, and instantly, there's a shift in tone compared to the previous episodes. This doesn't feel like setup anymore. It feels like execution. Every movement, every glance, every cut in the trailer is telling us that whatever is coming next is already in motion, and there's no stopping it now. What stands out immediately is the urgency. The pacing of the trailer is tighter, sharper, and far more focused than before. It's no longer about figuring things out, it's about getting there first. And at the center of it all lies one thing, the V1. This mysterious element has now become the core of the conflict, and the trailer makes it very clear that both sides understand its importance. It's not just a weapon anymore. It's leverage. It's survival. It's control. We hear dialogue hinting at the race that's about to unfold. And this is where the tension really starts to build. Because it's not just about who finds the V1, it's about what they choose to do with it. Butcher wants control. Homelander wants dominance. And somewhere in between, there are characters like Starlight who are now forced to confront something they've never truly had to face before. Their own mortality. There's a subtle but powerful moment in the trailer where someone reassures that everything will be fine, that no one is going to die. And that right there is the biggest red flag. In a world like this, those words don't bring comfort. They signal the exact opposite. Because in storytelling like this, especially in a show known for flipping expectations, the moment someone says, "You're safe," that's when you know they're not. And that idea starts to linger throughout the rest of the trailer. The fear isn't just about losing a fight anymore. It's about losing people. The stakes have quietly shifted from external conflict to something much more personal. Characters who once seemed untouchable are now being placed in situations where survival is no longer guaranteed. And that uncertainty is what makes every single shot feel heavier. At the same time, the trailer cleverly uses quick flashes of chaos, explosions, confrontations, blurred motion, to suggest that multiple storylines are about to collide. But instead of revealing too much, it holds back just enough to keep the suspense alive. You're not being shown the full picture, only fragments. And those fragments are enough to tell you that when everything finally connects, it's going to be brutal. There's also a noticeable emphasis on isolation. Even though the characters are technically working towards the same goal, it doesn't feel like unity. It feels like everyone is on their own path, driven by their own motives. Trust is thin. Decisions are being made quickly. And that lack of cohesion is dangerous, because when things go wrong, there's no safety net. And then there's Homelander. Even in the brief glimpses we get, his presence feels heavier than ever. Not louder, not more aggressive, but more controlled. And that's what makes it unsettling. Because a controlled Homelander is far more dangerous than an angry one. It suggests that whatever he's planning, it's not impulsive. It's calculated. By the time this opening segment of the trailer wraps up, one thing becomes clear. This episode isn't going to ease into anything. It's already moving at full speed. The pieces are already in place. And all that's left now is to see who reaches the finish line first, and who doesn't make it there at all. And if this is just the beginning, then what comes next is going to be absolute chaos. As the trailer continues, the focus slowly shifts, and this is where things start to feel even more unsettling. Because while the first part builds the tension around the race for V1, this next stretch begins to reveal something far more disturbing. What's already happening behind closed doors. We get a series of quick, almost uncomfortable shots that hint at a controlled environment, some kind of facility, possibly one we've seen before, but now being used for something much darker. And at the center of it all, as expected, is Homelander. But what's different this time is not just his presence, it's his intention. There's a noticeable shift in how he's being portrayed. He's not reacting anymore. He's initiating. And that changes everything. The trailer strongly suggests that Homelander has pushed things to a new level, especially when it comes to the development of V1. We see glimpses of individuals on the ground, surrounded by what looks like the aftermath of failed attempts: blood, stillness, and silence. These aren't random moments. They feel deliberate, like the result of experiments that didn't go as planned. And knowing Homelander, failure isn't something he tolerates, it's something he escalates from. What makes this even more intense is the implication that these tests are no longer being done cautiously. There's no waiting, no slow process. It feels rushed, forced, and dangerously unstable. And that lines up perfectly with what we know. Homelander doesn't want progress. He wants results. Immediately. There's also a brief but important presence of Sister Sage, who appears to be guiding or at least overseeing part of this operation. But even here, the dynamic feels tense. It doesn't feel like partnership, it feels like pressure. As if even she knows that what they're dealing with is beyond control. But there's no turning back now. And that's where the real fear comes in. Because if V1 is unstable, and Homelander is still pushing forward with it, then whatever outcome he gets might not just be powerful. It could be catastrophic. Not just for his enemies but for everyone involved. At the same time, the trailer cleverly cuts between these darker, more contained scenes and flashes of chaos happening elsewhere. And that contrast is important. Because while the outside world is preparing for a battle, something far more dangerous might already be unfolding on the inside. There's also an emotional layer being built here, especially when we think about characters like Starlight. While she isn't directly shown in these specific moments, the context connects back to her situation. If V1 is the key to survival, and Homelander gets control over it first, then her fate, and the fate of others, could be decided before they even get a chance to fight. And once again, the trailer leans into subtle storytelling. No direct explanations. No clear answers. Just enough visual hints to let you piece it together yourself. And when you do, it becomes clear that this isn't just about a race anymore. It's about consequences. Because if Homelander succeeds in stabilizing V1, even partially, it could completely shift the balance of power. But if he fails, the damage caused along the way might already be irreversible. And then there's one more layer to all of this: the silence. Between the chaos, the shouting, and the destruction, there are these brief pauses. Moments where everything just stops. And in those moments, you can feel it. Something is about to go very, very wrong. By the end of this section of the trailer, the message becomes clearer than ever. This isn't just building towards a fight. It's building towards a breaking point. One where science, power, and desperation all collide. And when that collision happens, it's not just going to affect one side. It's going to hit everyone. As the trailer moves forward, the energy shifts once again, but this time, it becomes far more strategic. The chaos takes a step back, and in its place, we start to see something more calculated unfolding. Because this part of the trailer isn't just about movement, it's about intention. We're shown a moment where Butcher and the team are standing in what looks like an open, exposed location. And right away, something feels off. They're not hiding. They're not rushing. They're waiting. And that tells you everything you need to know. This isn't a random encounter. It's a setup. At the center of this moment is an unknown figure, someone who doesn't feel like a fighter, someone who doesn't belong in the middle of all this. And that's where the idea of leverage comes into play. Because in a world like this, you don't draw someone out with force, you draw them out with something they care about. The dialogue in this section hints at uncertainty, questions about whether the target will actually show up. But underneath that uncertainty, there's confidence. A belief that whatever they're holding onto is enough to pull him in. And if that's true, then it means one thing. The person they're targeting still has something to lose. And that brings us to the most important part of this sequence, the arrival. Out of the darkness, slowly and deliberately, we see the entrance of Soldier Boy. And the way it's presented is crucial. There's no rush. No sudden movement. Just a calm, controlled walk forward. It's the kind of entrance that immediately shifts the tone of the entire scene. Because the moment he appears, everything changes. The tension that was building before now becomes something much heavier. This isn't just another confrontation. This is history catching up. There are unresolved issues here, past conflicts, and emotions that haven't been dealt with. And now, all of it is about to collide in one place. What makes this even more interesting is the uncertainty around his loyalty. The trailer doesn't make it clear where he stands, and that ambiguity is intentional. Because Soldier Boy isn't predictable. He doesn't follow a clear side. He follows his own interests. And that makes him one of the most dangerous pieces on the board. At the same time, we start to see quick flashes of action tied to this encounter. There's a brief moment where Butcher is engaged in a fight, but something about it feels off. It's not a clean exchange. There's resistance, almost like an invisible force preventing him from fully connecting. And the look on his face says it all: confusion, frustration, and maybe even a hint of realization that he's dealing with something he doesn't fully understand. This could suggest that the person, or people, they're up against have abilities or advantages that haven't been revealed yet. And if that's the case, then this entire setup might not go the way they expect it to. Then, just as quickly, the trailer cuts to another powerful moment. Homelander being struck. And not just by anyone. The implication here is clear. This is a direct clash between forces that have been building tension for a long time. And if this moment is anything like what it's being teased as, then it's not just a fight, it's a statement. Because when characters like these collide, it's not about winning or losing in the moment. It's about sending a message. About proving dominance. About settling something that's been left unresolved for far too long. And that's what makes this entire section so powerful. It's not loud. It's not overly chaotic. It's controlled, deliberate, and filled with underlying tension. Every movement feels intentional. Every cut feels like it's leading to something bigger. By the time this part of the trailer comes to an end, one thing becomes very clear. The trap has been set, the target has arrived, and the situation is now completely unpredictable. Because when you bring together this many unstable elements in one place, it's not a question of if things will go wrong. It's a question of how bad it's going to be when they do.